Okay, so what we are going to do tonight is take a look at how the ICD-10 manual is set up. I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and y'all see that we're in chapter 27 of the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
ICD-10 was chapter 2.
Oh,
We've gone through the whole book. That's why y'all are like, what are we doing? Because ICD-10 was covered in chapter 2. So I'm actually going to show y'all tonight the slideshow and talk about a little bit the intro to ICD-10 when we cover chapter 2. So y'all will see this 8 months from now again, but you're going to get it tonight just so you've got that
good.
intro and you kind of know what you're doing. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so chapter 2 is an overview of ICD-10-CM. ICD-10 stands for the International Classification of Diseases, issued and maintained by the WHO, whereas that's the World Health Organization, right? And this is international,
Okay.
global diagnosis codes, right? So Health Organization is the one who manages that. That's an easy way to remember it. We're talking international, we're talking global, we're talking the whole world, right? So they put together and maintain the ICD-10 for doctors and hospitals and whoever is coding. And it, just like the CPT manual, is updated annually. Okay. And there's stuff added. There's probably, I don't know, it's probably what and what as far as procedures getting added to CPT or diagnosis codes getting added to ICD-10. It's probably what and what. There's not too many changes that often. Um, I think the only change we've had in the last couple of years, we had COVID, brought a bunch of new codes, and then monkeypox last year, we had some new codes developed because of that. But that's it. Nothing else is really, hasn't been any major changes. So the alphabetic index consists of 3 sections. The indexes of diseases and injuries, your table of drugs and chemicals, and the external cause of injuries index. And y'all, that external cause of injury index, flip through it sometimes and just giggle because there are diagnosis codes. They want you to be so specific. Water ski accident, horse and buggy accident,
Oh,
was,
jeez.
was riding bareback, fell off, hit fence post. I mean, there's diagnosis codes for everything, and it's some of them are really actually amusing, really amusing. Some of the ways people get injured. People are crazy, right? So, but that's your alphabetic index is broken up into those 3 sections to help you find things a little bit easier, right? And it kind of, I have a little figure there that shows you what they look like in the alphabetic index. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to start with a body part. That's what you're going to look for first in the alphabetic index is a body part. Um, Most of them in ICD-10 for whatever reason, instead of by procedure or organ system or something like that, they're very body part specific. Abdomen, neck, leg, particular organ, whatever. That's generally what you're going to look for first. Your main terms are capitalized in a bold print. Subterms are indented 2 spaces to the right under the term above. So again, we're talking about that indent down. In all the manuals, in these alphabetic indexes, things
Mm-hmm.
indent down. And also in the tabular indexes, they do the same thing. And it's just a way of keeping things legible. Can you imagine if all of this information was lined up right under each other? You would not know what you're looking at. So that's kind of the way it's set up. And as you can see, it leads you to a code or a code range in some in some cases. And it'll also give you directions the same as the CPT manual. See also condition, things like that. So very similar to CPT, guys, just dealing with instead of dealing with procedures, we're dealing with illness.
Okay.
All right, so this is a portion of a HCFA 1500 claim form. Once you've got your coding figured out, you're ready to fill out a claim form and send it off to the insurance. You can see on this one, CPT and HCPCS codes go here. Each one of these lines, 1 through 6, is its own coding area, okay? You've got your CPT codes, your diagnosis codes, your ICD-10s are going up here in this box, okay? But all your procedures are going to be listed here. And then you see we have places for modifiers, up to 4. Diagnosis pointers, I've never really used those. But this I have filled out and had pages and pages of it. And I've seen cases where we had all of these diagnosis codes filled out. So that's where they go in the claim form. All right, so the tabular breakdown. Once you look in the alphabetic index and you find what you're looking for and you're getting into the tabular, they're broken down into chapter, section, category, subcategory, and then subclassification. Fun stuff. Like I said, ICD-10 goes, and you can see the subclassification is 5 to 7 characters. And there are some that want it 7 characters out. And that's when you'll see funny codes that have like XX and A at the end that all mean something. Those XX is because they want it out to that 7th character. Those are placeholders. Sometimes they use those if they are expecting a code to get more specific over time. They will use placeholders until that code does get more specific. They will just set it. We want it at 7 characters. We think it's eventually going to be at 7 characters. So put placeholders until it is. And it'll let you know if it wants you to do that. And you can see also, guys, in the chapter, chapter 13, diseases of the musculoskeletal system and connective tissue. Just like in your CPT manual, it's broken up by different chapters, and they are just like the CPT manual instead of alpha or numerical order. They're in pretty much alphabetical order. Okay, with your A codes starting, close to chapter 1, and your Z codes all the way in the back. And Z codes are a whole another ball game. but kind of they can be fun too, though. And they have diagnosis. The ICD-10 has a lot more of the little signs and symbols around the definitions. This little red stop sign being 1, that means you cannot code that. It means do not stop there. We need to indent down some because this is not something we can code. 25 is just other disorder, not elsewhere classified. That's really unspecific, really, really unspecific. So if you indent down M25.5, pain in joint. Okay, well, that could be pain in a lot of different places in your joints, right? So pain in hand, fingers, and it'll lead you to somewhere else. And then you keep indenting down and you get more specific and more specific. That must have been it. Yep, I guess that was it. All right. So it's not a whole new concept. Very, very similar to your CPT. And I want y'all, the first thing y'all can do is put the tabbies, tab your binder, tab your manual, okay? You see all the little tabbies. All the little tabbies. And I've got like 2 rows of them. Y'all see that? 2, 3 rows of tabbies. And that's just each chapter. I just start at the beginning of a chapter and break it up like that. How you label it is totally up to you. I like labeling it by body part. A lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, most people probably, like using it. I say it's set up alphabetically. They like putting it like that, like what code range is on in that section, or what, at least what it starts with, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, Opposite to your CPT manual, instead of the alphabetic being index being in the back, in the ICD-10, it is in the front. This big, thick, this entire section here. There's your alphabetic index. And then it goes through these. Okay. And also something that's really cool. Let's see if I can make it do like that for y'all. But if you can see, each chapter is color coded. That's an easy way to know where the chapters begin and end. And on each of those little strips of color, tell you what chapter and what code range you're in. Okay, so that's super helpful and help you find things quickly also. Let's see. Right after your alphabetic index, there's a few things that are just kind of, because of what they are, they're set apart from everything else. One of those things is cancer or neoplasms. A neoplasm is another word for a tumor. Okay. In our ICD-10 manual, they have it's set up as a table. It's not really set up like sections. There's a
Mhm.
table that you use to find the right code. And it's called the TON, the table of neoplasms. Okay. And it is directly behind your alphabetic index. Anytime you see the word neoplasm, you don't even have to go to the alphabetic index. You can go straight to the table because that's where you're going to find your code at. Okay. Um, so you've got your alphabetic index, then your table of neoplasms, and right after that is your table of drugs and chemicals. Set up almost identically to the table of neoplasms. Um, you have a substance on one side, and then you have different variables. And depending on how that substance and that variable line up, each code in there is different. So you just got to work it out how to find that. We will get a lot of practice with that when we go through chapter 2, when we get to ICD-10. Plenty of practice, I promise. You will be proficient with the table of neoplasms, the table of drugs and chemicals. Y'all will be good to go. Right behind that is the external causes and injuries index. Can't talk too much. But and one of the things, one of the great things, is it, look up accident in there in the external causes index. Look up
Mhm.
accident and then see how many pages. And each page has 3 columns. See how many pages of different accidents there are. Go through them and giggle. Just really laugh because it's just, some of it's kind of crazy. I'm trying to
Mhm.
see if I can see anything. Streetcar. If you got injured on a streetcar, your code's V16.9. I mean, crazy
Wow.
stuff. Baby stroller. If you got injured by a baby stroller, animal being ridden or animal drawn vehicle, bus, railway. I mean, guys, falls. It gets interesting. It really does. It gets interesting. But that is where you'll find the codes that are going to be indicators of how the person got injured, where the person got injured, whether it was a public place or their home or somewhere else. There's different codes for different places. Um, but this is where you're coding, you're telling the whole story. I always say coding is about the who, what, the when, the where, and the why. You know, your patient's the who, Your disease and injury is the what? Your procedures or the one of the others? Y'all get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I get what I'm saying. You're telling a whole story. All right, so, and then after that, after your index of injuries, starts your tabular section. It goes, like I said, from A to Z. First code being A00. I want to say there's a Z99 at the end, but they go from A to Z. So that is what I want between now and next Tuesday. If you guys have not tabbed your manuals, please do so. That needs to be your first step because that is going to be a time saver. Um, Next week we're going to start really, I'm going to give y'all like a list of things and we're going to go and start looking, finding them in the alphabetic index and then verifying them in the tabular, looking at the different signs and symbols, determining what they mean, when we need to put in those placeholders, all that fun stuff. We're gonna start on that next week. So get your manuals tabbed and kind of play with them, y'all. Look through them, get familiar, look up your own injuries or illnesses. You know, it's one way to get familiar with your manual because, like I say, coding is repetition. The more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get. And then one day you're going to be doing it and everything's going to go bing and it's all going to come together. You're going to be like, ah, I got this. This is cake. Got this. Because it's not that hard. You just got to read and pay attention to what you're reading. That's it. That's all. Any questions?
Oh.
No? We good? All right. So in the meantime, because y'all are all new and still not familiar with ICD-10, go ahead and continue on. If you want to give it a try, then give it a try. Go ahead and attempt to find the code. If you don't, and you're just not comfortable with it and you don't want to waste and spend your time, then don't worry about it. I'm not going to hold those against you. So no worries. Just put new student in that blank instead of a code, okay? Because there are a lot in this, especially in chapter 26 and 27, where they're asking you for the ICD-10 codes. Also, I do want to mention this. Chapter 27, when we get there, is inpatient coding. It's using a different ICD-10 manual. Okay, there's ICD-10-CM, and then there's ICD-10-PCS, which is for inpatient coding. Okay, we use the CM. We provide you guys with the CM. The PCS is not widely used. It's almost specifically used in hospitals only, which that's not saying you won't get done here and go to work at a hospital. You may, but the process is going to be the same for ICD-10-CM versus ICD-10-PCS. The process of finding these codes is going to be the same, but CM is much more widely used, which is why we concentrate on it. But the process is the same when it comes to finding the code, so don't be stressed out about that. That's about it. I think that's about all I got for y'all for tonight. Do y'all have any questions for me? Anything at all? And not just about this, but about anything that's going on in class, anything else we're working on, anything at all? No? Oh, all right then. Well, very good. Then you guys, by all means, thank you so much for giving me your time and coming and attempting to learn, get familiar with ICD-10. It is a big part of what we do in this field, so it is important. So good for you guys. And I will tell y'all this too. Any of the informal sessions that I put on are not graded. You guys don't get grades for these. They're not mandatory by any means. That's why I don't even ask y'all to turn on your cameras for this. But when it comes down to finalizing your grades or something like that, and your 1 point difference between a B and an A, and you came to extra stuff, I'm gonna give you the point. So while it's not worth grades, it is worth good grace with your instructor for sure. So it shows me that you want this and you're working hard toward it. You're putting in effort and showing up. So when it comes time, you know, if y'all need a point, I got you. Got you. Thank y'all for your time. Appreciate it. All right, folks. Well, y'all have a blessed evening. And our next meeting is our weekly meeting at Thursday at 3:30. So I will see y'all then if I don't talk to y'all before, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.